Good day and welcome to today's webinar, Becoming a Cloud Master with HPE Helion Cloud Suite Part 2. It's brought to you by Hewlett Packard Enterprise. And I'll be your host today, Shannon Lake. I'm the Senior Vice President, Strategic Account Manager for Results Positive. I typically over the years have focused on business strategy, account management, and working as a sales entre leader. Results Positive, just a quick overview for us. We're an HPE Platinum partner, focusing on different areas such as OpsBridge, OneView strategy, business value dashboards, tools integrations, upgrades, and of course the Helium Cloud Suite. Today your speakers will be Neil Miles, Senior Product Manager, HPE Helium Cloud Suite, and Kieran McCarla, also Technical Marketing Manager for Hewlett Packard Enterprise. Some housekeeping. Today's session is live and it's intended for all Vivint members. The recording will be posted in the webinar section on the Vivint website, visible for all members. Additionally, today's slide deck and webinar recording will be made available to you. We will send you the link via email once they are posted to the Vivint website. If you have questions as we go along, please type and send them in using the question pane in the webinar control panel. Here's a picture of the GoToWebinar control panel that usually appears in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. To submit a question, make sure the question panel is expanded and type in your question and click on Send. So let's get started. I'll pass it over to Neil.
Well, we're going to have some polling questions first. So let's find out a bit about the audience and what they're thinking and what their positions are on cloud in their organizations.
Absolutely. So here's your first polling question. This is on business goals and driving your cloud initiatives. So if you could check all that apply. I'm going to wait a few more seconds for everybody. About 5 more seconds. Please vote. All right.
I'm in suspense here, Shannon, because I can't see the answers because I'm sharing my screen for the slide. So why don't you give us a little bit of a verbal rundown?
Absolutely. So the poll results are 85% of the people are interested in accelerating IT's ability to deliver speed services. Mm-hmm. Right after that, we have pretty much a tie between supporting DevOps and cloud app environments and allowing ops staff to do more efficiently. And then coming in about 50% is to lower cloud delivery costs and improve user experience with a service catalog.
All right.
So there you go. But the number one is accelerate IT's ability to deliver services.
Yeah, it was interesting. I was with one customer who told me that it wasn't until they turned on their second public cloud that they got a 35% discount from the one that had them in a lock until that time. So, things are interesting, and humans are still humans. So a bit of a competitive multi-cloud environment, I think, can be a benefit too. So let's go for the second polling question.
All right. Next question is to describe your cloud deployments. Give it another 20, 25 seconds. Please select one of the following. All right, I'm going to give you 2 more seconds. It's your last chance. All right, and here you go. So we're at a split between they're people are investigating their cloud options and utilizing a hybrid cloud model. Those are both at about 35%. We have 23% we utilize a private cloud, and then 8% say we utilize at least one public cloud. So.
Okay, cool. Excellent. So it's a good mix. That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we have one last question.
Yes.
And this is on cloud technology and tool plans. So if you could check all that apply, this will be our last question for the moment. Give everybody a second to read through. Five more seconds. All right. And the winner on this one is choosing a cloud platform, or excuse me, cloud management platform as a current event. So on the call today, you have literally 3/4 of the people on the call today are in the process of choosing a cloud management platform as a current effort. And then you've got 40%, they're investigating containers and microservices, and 25 are both split between Puppet and Chef or other tools, as well as maintaining tool integrations have become an issue. And then we're holding up the end at 20% as each cloud ends up with a separate support team or silo. So you do have some siloed solutions out there. Mm-hmm.
Excellent.
All right. Well, Neil, I think it's yours.
All right, so let's just go through quickly. I think the core of this session is the demonstration by Kieran and his people. So let's go through just a little bit of an introduction for those who maybe hadn't hit one of the other 2 webinars on the Helion Cloud Suite that we've had in the past 2 months. Helion Cloud Suite is a software management solution from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. It is for hybrid cloud management, and if you look over on the left-hand side there, self-service user portal, to give that business value of user interface to IT services and make IT look good. And then, honestly, the core of it is for multi-cloud management, monitoring, and analytics, giving you the ability to do cloud planning and analytics and cloud assessment and check and whether apps are ready for the cloud and help you do that planning and transformation. App release automation, and then the task capabilities, and full automation. So the idea here is there are 3 editions. We'll get into them in a minute. The idea is the first Express is infrastructure automation. DevOps-driven cloud is our premium edition, and service transformation, meaning enhancing all the capabilities, is the ultimate edition. But the target over in the bottom right-hand side is important. The value for Helion Cloud Suite for you is that you can use containers, you can use cloud-native applications, you can develop them, you can also support things like Amazon and Azure. It takes the choices away, so it really makes it so that you don't have to choose, oh, I have to use this tool because of this cloud or this tool because of this cloud. So the value here is the fact that, with multiple clouds with control, you get the chance to drive that multi-cloud deployment, okay? But the value here is the ability to create cloud-agnostic app modeling, and you've got that service portal that's shown top center, and you've got any of your technologies or environments over on the left being able to target any target. So, and the value, once again, is the ability to build those cloud-agnostic application models and then determine what target cloud that is going to be provisioning that application through. Walking quickly through our 3 editions, Express is designed to get you started with a complete infrastructure automation. So orchestration, monitoring, and traditional server automation, etc., but also capacity and IT analytics, because you want to know where things are running well. And that complete life cycle, both for physical and virtual machines, but also bare metal, right? So that orchestration platform, operations orchestration, is our foundation, and it is so powerful, and we can even control vRealize operations and other operations tools underneath it, so you can it becomes a master orchestration platform. Helium Cloud Suite Premium provides DevOps-driven multi-cloud. So what are we adding? We add cloud management and application delivery, so cloud-native application platform, along with continuous application release. Codar provides that application pipeline that lets you create an application factory and automate the builds and the release process and pipeline and do that really successfully. And then finally, Ultimate maximizes all the component capabilities, but also adds that service broker to allow that user interface and the ability to tie different services and microservice-based brokering in for your environment to give you the capability to look as good as you are. So the value here is it makes gives that service catalog in any device, looks professional, allows things to have the user interface and transform the impression of IT. We did get a couple questions before I get into the more meat. We did get a lot of questions about what can Helium Cloud Suite do with containers, and just wanted to highlight that on slide that you can keep for your view later. But we have the ability to do multi-cloud orchestration. We basically have monitoring for the containerized applications. We can discover those hosts, their containers, what their topology is, and we've got agent monitoring for both the container and clusters. And it's big data, once again, big data-driven analytics from HPE software, and security and compliance, secure that container host, and vulnerability patching, et cetera. So people have been asking specifically what we can do for containers. Just wanted to highlight that. Here's a U.S. healthcare company. They use cloud service automation and our data center automation. I don't want to go into this in detail, but had a great result moving to really speed up. And we had 85% saying they wanted to improve the speed of delivery. And so you've got a company that was able to go from 3 months to 15 minutes, but also put 57 different services available to their people on a catalog, okay? And very, very good. So good result, reducing error and reducing the server time down to effectively nil. So great result for them, all right? And what we've got here to help you understand, as Kieran goes through this, we've got a logical view talking about the orchestration engine as the heart and the center. The targets are on the bottom left-hand side, anywhere you want, with infrastructure, database, analytics, et cetera. But above that is cloud management and application release, so providing more of the process automation and the cloud-agnostic service models. Kieran, why don't you take it away here and continue on.
Great. Thanks, Neil. Good day, everyone, and we are glad that you can join us today. Let me walk over the slide. Just give us a second here. Neil, can you see me?
Yep. Got it.
All right. So what we are seeing here is I think this is more like a block diagram. And from your polling questions, you've said that cloud management platform is one of the key needs for your current initiatives, right? So let's look at what are the key capabilities that your cloud management should provide you. So primarily, you need to have a self-service marketplace portal so that your customers or your line of businesses can consume your services that you're going to offer. Followed by that, you need to have an ability to analyze cost, and you should be able to provide them some description around, how much it is going to cost them and how much would the spend would be, right? And following that would be, how would you be able to place those workloads? That is, providing that best placement for your workloads is what is main capability. And once you place those workloads, you need to have a mechanism to monitor those. And in case if something goes wrong, you need to be able to provide what is root cause for that and how would you be able to correlate it, right? And how do you monitor that is typically you would be able to analyze your application and build a topology for that application so that you know which application is being hosted on which particular node and which node is on which cluster and what have you, right? So that way you need to have that logical model that ties back to your infrastructure model. So that way you'll be able to know what are the various elements that's going wrong and what needs to be done. So monitoring is a key capability for your cloud management. All of this needs to be underpinned with an orchestration engine, which is going to do most of the what do you call workflow orchestration, right? That is the ability to provision a server and patch it and kind of install a different type of applications or databases, what have you, on that particular infrastructure. And that should be able to be done on any different clouds. In this case, you can see there are different cloud providers, be it private cloud or a public cloud providers. It should be completely what we call as for an end user, this should be completely be abstract for him, because end of the day, he doesn't really matter for him where the service is going to be hosted on, but you're going to bring that what you call benefits to your customer. So in this case, you can see this master orchestration engine is doing the most of your infrastructure automation across various clouds, and also be able to provision them with the databases and the middleware that's required to support your application. And compliance is the key when you do all of these things, because you want to make sure that where your workloads are currently running and whether those environments are being properly secure, and it is and the compliance has been met with respect to various regulatory bodies, in case if you are in one of those industries, right? So as you can see, this particular block diagram shows you the key capabilities that your cloud management platform should offer, and the way how currently we achieve using the various HPE tools, and how we tie them back to our platform. Okay. So with that, I will advance the slide. And I promise you that there are going to be a few more slides before I run into the demos. So first and foremost, as we were saying, we need to have a self-service portal that should be capable of providing you a way for your consumers or line of business to consume that. Right? Here is a graphical representation of what our service portal looks like, and an ability for you to browse the various services that are offered, and at the same time being able to consume that. So the services can provide you anywhere between infrastructure, requesting a VM, or requesting a particular platform, and with the various types of runtime engines already installed on that platform. And this all can be done with just a click of a button by browsing through the various catalogs and able to pick a service that is relevant to you and making that purchase. And if there is any approval flow that is associated with that particular purchase, then that would be triggered, and the folks who are in charge of approving that will get notified, and the approval would continue through. So there's a clean way for your consumers to both browse, organize, as well as subscribe and monitor their usage, so that they can easily be able to manage their subscriptions. Not only that, this particular capability should be backed by a proper governance model, meaning that proper authorities or proper personnel should be able to log into the system and should see only the subscriptions or the offerings that are very specific to them, right? So in this case, say for example, if you are managing multiple organizations, then you should be able to manage those catalogs in such a way that only the members of a particular organization should be able to see the subscriptions or offerings that are specific to them. So customization is really important. And at the same time, be able to also expand on that customization a little bit and kind of show the various options and user can specify. For example, if they are interested in picking and choosing a certain type of a VM with a certain version of an operating system, and the space as well as the storage requirements needs, so he should be able to make the choice while making that purchase. So typically your service portal should be able to offer all of these, and at the same time be able to be flexible enough so that users can benefit from that. So while these services are good, how do you provide them? So these services can be simple as in providing a VM, or it could be as complex as providing a multi-tier application as a way for your customers to log in. So what does that mean? That means you need to have a graphical interface where folks can put together a service designs, and that service design could be a multi-tier application, and it can run across multiple technologies. Right? These technologies could be a simple service management, where you have ability for our users to raise it, trouble ticket, or try to see what are the various things that's happening with their infrastructure or with respect to their subscription. Or it could be a simple remediation, wherein something is triggered by the monitoring system, and you have a workflow in place which kind of knows what to do in case something is going wrong, and how do you remediate and put the service back to the normal. So the ability for your cloud management platform to tie these multiple systems so that end of the day, the service that you're offering to your customers is optimal. So that's the key thing. And not only that, your service providers should be able to customize these offerings so that they can tailor it specific to their end customers. So a region could have a specific need. In that case, you take your service design and you customize it so that it is more appealing to your user base. So that flexibility should be provided as well. Now, the ability to connect multiple IT systems, because IT systems and data centers could be a complex mix of technologies as well as solutions. So ability to connect all these things is a required capability. And as the HPE operations orchestration workflows, we have about 8,000 plus workflows, and ability to connect 300 plus applications, both HPE and non-HPE, so that you are pretty much sure that this solution can tie different types of systems you might have in your data center, which could be required in providing that unique service design. So not only that, you should be able to provide this service design in such a way that you should be able to take this service design and use it across multiple clouds, so that you don't create a duplication of the work which you are putting in place, and the duplication causes additional challenges in managing the type of versions you are currently running and which version is currently running for which cloud system, cloud provider, and what have you, right? So we have this ability to design once and deploy it anywhere, what we call as a cloud agnostic application service design. That means you design it once and deploy that same design across multiple clouds without changing the underlying design. So that way you have a single design which can be ported over to multiple clouds.
And that's a big point, right? Because some of our competitors, they have designs, et cetera, and they say they do multi-cloud, but you have to actually specify up front which target it's going for when you start the design.
Right. So let's look into our first use case, which is how do you take your traditional application, which you currently have, and how do you transform that, or what we call as model it in such a way that you can offer it as a service. As you can see, 90% of applications are still in your data centers that are still run in a traditional applications. And the businesses are looking a way to take these applications and make it more flexible in such a way that as the businesses grow, these applications still stay relevant because that's their backend systems. But at the same time, they want that flexibility which users are used to when they typically use their mobile applications or most of the traditional new applications. So let's see how we can do that using Helium Cloud Suite. So first and foremost, I'll run a video here, so that way it will. Sorry about that. So the core things which we will be covering as part of this video is how you take your traditional application and model it using our integrated service designer, which I just talked about. And
you want a slideshow mode, Kieran, for this?
Yeah. You see that?
That's better. Thanks, man.
Okay. So no problem. So so next we would use an underlying cloud provider like your private cloud using OpenStack, and walk through the various components in that design so that we would see how these components interact in providing that service, and we also use a policy that would typically auto scale based on your application needs and also the demand that application is taking in order to scale it. Right. And finally,
you still have your agenda slide showing.
Yes. So it is right now. I'm just talking through that.
Okay, that's cool. That's fine.
So as you can see, this is our traditional application, which pretty much you might be familiar with. Say, for example, in your organization, you might have an expense management system where it captures your expenses that you might incur, and you would need to have an ability to log into that system and file away your expenses and assign some category to each of these expenses and manage it, right? So usually this is a typical application which are run in most of the organizations. Now, as you can see, in this application, you have the ability to browse through the various expenses and both submitted and non-submitted one. And you can create a new expense for providing key details such as the date when this expense has been incurred and the category of that expense, right? So basically, that's your typical application. Now, we will see how you can take that traditional application, which you just saw, and how you can model that application so that you can make it relevant in today's world, right? So for that, we'll be using your cloud service automation, which is our anchor product within the Helion Cloud Suite, and which is the main administrative console panel to driving many of your cloud capabilities, or what we call as the key capabilities for your platform. As you can see, there are many tiles here, and each of the tile represents a specific function within your platform. And we will be talking more on the design style here because that's the one which we'll be using to modeling your service designs. Okay, so you can see these are the multiple functionalities. So we specifically talk about a designer where you have an ability to catalog it, or what we call as put it in a multiple folders so that you can organize your designs much better. So in this case, we are talking about a specific design called Scalene application, and you can see from that you have a search capabilities to quickly find your required design. And we will talk about a specific design, and as I was mentioning, you can have multiple versions of this design. And in this case, we are talking about a specific version that we will be using to deploy it in your private cloud. You can also have a similar application that you can have it for a different type of clouds, and you can have multiple versions associated with that, right? So let's look into a particular version of this particular design. As you can see, there are multiple components in this design, and primarily they are actually categorized into multiple groups. Typically, a design will constitute a web tier, a database tier, and an infrastructure side of the equation, right? And there could be other components such as load balancers, or you can have a monitoring solutions and what have you, right? So in this case, we will be looking into a traditional application with multiple tiers, and let's see how we can model that. So we will go into our integrated designer, where you have a panel, a palette of components on your left-hand side. So palette is primarily a way for you to use the multiple components, and you can drag those palette components onto the canvas on your right-hand side and use that drag and drop capability to configure the relationship between these components. So in this case, we have seen that there is a web tier here, which primarily consists of a OpenStack server, and you also have a component to deploy your web application on that, right? And you have another elements for this design, such as your load balancer, and you have a what you call as a network component, so that your OpenStack servers could connect and interact with. And you also have another role such as a load balancer, and other roles such as a database. So as you can see, there are 3 different layers here, and you can group your web tier, and you can scale this group as and when there is a need. So for that, you would be using a site scope monitor, which would be attached to this group, so that it monitors the web tier and also the server that is hosting that web tier, so that isn't when there is a need for scaling, it will use this monitoring solution to scale. So we attach that monitoring solution and make it part of that group, and you specify an initial count, because initial count is a number of instances you would want to start off with, and you would scale it depending on a certain policy. And that policy could be based on a threshold or how much of throughput, so what have you, right? So the policy is up to you for you to decide when you want to scale. So once you have that design taken care, now you would want to make sure that you have to host that particular design or make it available as a service to your end customers. In this case, our end customer is a line of business owner. In this case, is an administrator from the finance department. So he will have an opportunity to log into this cloud service portal, which we just talked about, and let's see, what his experience would be like as a business user or the business owner of this application. He has the capacity to go through this particular portal, look at all the various critical infrastructure and operations that are associated to that, and also be able to see what are the various applications or the subscriptions that are currently in progress, right? In this case, he is looking at that Helion application, which we remodel and made it available as a service to him, so that he can see what are the various critical infrastructures that is currently responsible to host that application, right? In case if this system goes wrong or if it goes down, he will be the one who will be called to check, what's going on with that. So he wants to make sure that all the infrastructure that is being used to host this application is properly being maintained. As you can see here, he has an initial count of 4 VMs that's currently hosting that web application, and he also has an ability to monitor that particular instances using our what we call as a cloud optimizer. Which is also the virtual performance viewer for the folks who are familiar with. So what virtual performance viewer provides you is the capability to hone in and kind of see what are the various instruments. It's basically the instrumentation as well as trying to see what's going on with your infrastructure. In this case, due to a synthetic demand, what we generated, there's a spike in the CPU, and because of which you can see that the application is automatically modifying itself, meaning scaling itself, so that it is still responsive. Most of the typical traditional application will freeze when there is a huge demand. So in this case, our traditional application is modeled in such a way that it is now capable of auto scaling itself and still be able to provide that the experience that most of the users come to expect with. So in this case, this operations, this particular application is still live, and it's still able to serve all the requests that your users are trying to generate. So that way, you take your traditional application and model it and make it available to your end users, so that stays relevant in today's world, while still keeping your core applications without huge amount of rewrites. So that's one of the key capabilities, and this is something which our customers like it, because most of them cannot throw away what they currently have in their data centers, and look only at the newer ones, right? So this is a new way how you can still make those things relevant. With that, I will move on to the next slide. And this particular use case we will talk about. So now we just talked about the traditional applications, and last session or last webinar, we talked about how you can build a cloud-native applications using HPE Staccato, right? So assuming that you've had watched one of those videos, so let's see how you can bridge the traditional application, what we just saw here, and how you can bridge the cloud-native applications, which your application teams are putting together, and how we can connect these two worlds. Right? For that, here is the agenda for that. So let's talk about all the things that we're going to do in this particular video. So as you can see, your cloud-native application will primarily be using some microservices, And these microservices are a way for you to provide the key capabilities or key functionality your customers are expecting you to provide, and doing it at a modular way rather than the traditional applications, right? In this Cloud Integrated Designer, we bring these two types of technologies and club them in such a way that you would still be able to leverage your traditional applications, but at the same time be able to provide that, but at the same time be able to leverage your the newer application, right? And at the same time, you should also be able to provide that in an abstract way so that your core capabilities can be derived from any cloud provider rather than tying it to a specific cloud. So that way, you know, if you're requiring a platform that requires a Node.js runtime environment, and if that capability is provided by any of your cloud providers such as Amazon or Azure, you can just be able to derive that from those cloud providers. So that way your design is not tying it to a specific implementation or a specific cloud provider. So that's what we call as an abstract model. Once we have built that abstract models, now you should be able to derive the most of the traditional backend system capabilities by using an APIs and be able to model it in such a way that now you have the ability to connect these two worlds. So this is a brand new application that the teams have put together, the mobile application with the LO front end. We'll just roll it back here for a second. So in this case, you have seen the traditional application, which is a blue front end, right? So this is a modular or what is called the mobile application, which has got a brand new UI, and which the teams are experimenting with, right? And this also provides the same capabilities, but this particular application is primarily intended for users who are on the go. Say typically your sales reps who are always on the move, or folks who want to leverage mobile applications or mobile platforms to consume that services. Right? So here we pick an application design, and this application design. So let's look into the cloud agnostic designs. How do you put together these? So in this case, we are picking a design which has abstract models, such as ability to provide that Node.js as a runtime, and your caching layer, as well as your ability to connect the database. So what we provide here is an abstract model which
can you go full screen so it's a little larger?
So let's pause here for a second and talk about what the cloud agnostic models are, because this is really important. So what we are trying to do is, rather than specifying the details about what type of runtime environment and where it needs to run, we are specifying just the capabilities that's required for your application to run. In this case, it's requiring a Node.js application. That means it requires a runtime to provide that, and also it requires a caching to provide it. Caching to support this application, and a database. So in this case, so what we are saying is that as long as a cloud provider can support these requirements, such as a caching layer, as well as a database, in this case MongoDB, this application should be able to be hosted. So that way you kind of abstract your need so that you can switch, or you can pick and choose the right cloud provider which is offering the right capabilities for your needs. And you don't need to duplicate these designs as we migrate or use multiple clouds. So once you have this one in place, now you need to have a mechanism to kind of connect to your traditional applications. So as you can see, we can pick and you have a traditional model already designed in your previous demo. So what we do is you connect these two things using an API so that you can leverage your traditional backend application, at the same time also leverage the type of ability to deploy to multiple clouds, right? And now you also have your mobile application, so you can connect that mobile application and have all of these as part of a single design. Since the mobile application requires a runtime environment, now you pick and choose the platform that you would want to run this mobile application on. So now you have all these different elements that's required to support both your traditional as well as the modern application needs and be able to offer them as a single design. Now, once you have that design, you will have the capability to test these designs. That means, you should be able to pick and choose the type of cloud or the platform that cloud provider offers. In this case, you are picking and choosing an environment. In this case, development environment, test environment. Each of the environments could be different, and each cloud provider that is supporting these environments can be different. So that's the reason why now you can go and pick and choose the type of platform you would want these applications to be deployed to. So in this case, mobile platform, you can pick and choose your AWS or Eucalyptus or VMware, both private and public type of clouds. Now you have this need for database, so you can go and pick and choose the MongoDB. And this MongoDB is offered as a service in any of the various clouds, right? As you're familiar, you can have it from your AWS or you can have it from Azure. So you can pick and choose the where you want that services to be consumed from. So this is a capability now to mix and match and kind of picking up the right things for you. So this is what we call as a hybrid cloud and cross cloud. Most of you might be hearing about. So as you can see, you can pick and choose the type of platform and type of cloud for each of the layer. And this Redis is provided from your AWS cloud and your database from different cloud. So once you have that services picked from different clouds, now you can go and run this and test it, and you can have an ability to provide both your traditional as well as your cloud native or the modern application on the cloud which you are interested or which is suitable for you. So that's how you kind of bridge these two worlds. So the third demo which we are going to cover today is, now you have all this infrastructure and all these platforms configured and ready. Now how do you deliver on that? So this is what we call as where you can bring in an application release pipeline, automated application release pipeline. So let's see how you can deliver the value to your customers, or how do you stay ahead of the competition. For that, you need to either, if you're following an agile methodology and if DevOps is your core practice, then this is how that ties back into that. So typically you need to have a release pipeline that should be able to be configured because your release cycles could be completely different from so most of the releases could be different. So a new development can have multiple lifecycle stages, whereas a patch could have a fewer lifecycle stages. So your release pipeline should be able to scale depending on your needs and what you're currently working on. Also, you should have an ability to integrate with existing tools, such as your testing or test automation tools, such as ALM, or you could have a Selenium, or you could have a specific other types of tools which you're already using. So your pipeline should be able to integrate with those tools. And you need to have a continuous integration tool, such as, so if you are familiar with those are the ones which you would be using to trigger any new builds that your team is currently working on, and should be able to use one of these tools such as Bamboo or Jenkins. So customizing the lifecycle for each of these pipeline is really important. So now you take that release pipeline, which is configurable, and tie it back to the designs which we talked about in the previous two demos. That is the designs which we put together, and take those designs through this delivery pipeline so that the application which you are currently going to make it available to your end customer goes through all the various lifecycle stages and properly being tested and properly being vetted, so that way the service, whatever you're going to deliver to your end users, is gone through all the various lifecycle stages, right? And all of them can be tied to your for the corporate governance, like each of the lifecycle stages needs to be acted on only by specific users. So, for example, a compliance testing engineer should have to make sure that only group from that particular members from that group are the only ones which is going to be using those environments, and have to have the ability to quickly test for specific vulnerabilities as well as compliance needs. Right. So let's look into this video where we talk about what are the various things which you would require. So here is I will fast forward the slides, the video. So what we are talking about here is ability for your team, for your organization to tailor the pipeline depending on your need. For example, in application can have a different lifecycle stages, and you can attach various roles to each of the lifecycle stages. For example, application developers are entitled to work only on systems that are currently in the development environment. Similarly, a QA engineers should be able to work only on the systems that are in their QA environment. So tying the roles and responsibility to each of the lifecycle stages is important. And as you can see, these lifecycle stages can expand and you can customize it depending on your application that you're currently working on. If it is a new application, then you can have multiple lifecycle stages. But if it's a patch, it's a different stage. Not only that, you should have an ability to pick and choose the type of cloud providers or the environments that's supporting each of these lifecycle stages. So dev, for quick sandbox testing and development, you can use any of the public clouds. But as you progress through the various lifecycle stages, you might have a specific a data center and a specific hosts and clusters that you identify the ones which is hosting these production applications. So the ability to pick and choose and tie a provider to a specific environment is also a critical. In this case, you have a version 1, and your dev is supported by Helion as well as Docker. Whereas you go into the solution QA, it is supported by your VMware private cloud. So these are the various things which are required. And the third critical element is having an ability to configure your release gates. First, you have a release lifecycle stages, and now you have the environment that are supporting those lifecycle stages. Next step is what are the various type of actions which you would be doing as part of those lifecycle stages. Typically, in a development environment, you would be doing a deployment and running various smoke and sanity tests before it can even get to the testing stage, where the QA would be deploying it their own environments and running the functional tests that's required to approve that particular build. So all of these should be automated in a sense, like the deployment, continuous deployment needs to happen, and continuously those deployed packages needs to be tested. And once these tests are run, they need to be automatically be decided whether this build is the candidate that can move to the next stage, or if it is rejected for whatever reason. So that way you are kind of automating the entire release pipeline, is making sure that there is no manual intervention in such a way that if you are manually intervening to provision a particular server, put a particular patch on it and deploy it, then there is a chance for going wrong, because a manual intervention can always lead to an error. So we are taking that thing away by automating your whole build process, and at the same time doing that continuous deployment. So let's roll this video further. And once you have the release gate actions that are part of the release gate, there are a couple of things which you can do as part of that release gate. One is, if the build is good, then it naturally moves on to the next stage. But in case if something goes wrong, then there are a couple of things that can happen. One is the proper authority needs to be notified, meaning in this case, the development team needs to be notified. And if there is an approval that's required in order to promote this particular build to a different stage, then you need to have the manager to approve that. So notification is an important part of that process. I'll skip through the steps too because we're running short on time. So typically your continuous delivery requires an ability for your developers to check in their code to a code repository, and you have ACI or build systems such as Jenkins or Bamboo, which would be monitoring those check-ins and would be doing a continuous build. So once this build is done, you have an artifact which you would be hosting to a third party or a local repository. And Quadar, which is our application release automation engine that is powering this, that is part of this Helion Cloud Suite, is the one which would now pick those artifacts and use that to deploy it to the various environments which you configured as part of your pipeline. Now, as part of the deployment, you would run the various test automation tools that you already have in place, so that, as I was mentioning, you need to have an ability to trigger those various test automation tools as part of your build deployment, right? So it goes and executes the various tests, and if that tests are passed, then the package will move on to the next stage. So that's how all the various tests will be performed on the various the service design which you put together and the application that is supporting that service design, and that's how you make it available in your catalog, so that now your customers or end users can use the design which has been properly being tested. So I will skip to the next slide and turn it over to Neil.
All right, thanks. If you go back to screen slideshow mode, that'd be great. So basically, just summarizing the benefits for Helion Cloud Suite, we're going to start with an orchestration engine that basically is powerful enough to act as your master orchestration platform. Okay, it's got the biggest library in the industry, and it has enterprise scale. It can handle flow bursts, and I've seen it run 20, 30,000 servers. So it's amazing. Okay, cloud management. You've seen the ability to build those cloud native and cloud agnostic service designs, full stack management. You've got multi-stack, multi-cloud environments with compliance orchestration and automation, which a lot of people are still struggling with manually. And you've got, as we mentioned earlier, the native container capabilities. Okay, analytics. We've got big data-driven analytics. Automatically filtering down to most significant messages. We can go from millions to just a handful and automatically suggest which one should be acted on. In fact, we've got people from Internet of Things environments like telcos and train companies, etc., railways, using it just because they're so staggered with the amount of data that they've got. This big data-driven analytics is huge because it is machine learning and self-predictive. So, application delivery. You just saw Quadar. You just saw some of the capabilities here. We've got the ability to automate any of the technology stack you need to help you provide that level of automation. 85% of you said you wanted speed. Speed is how you get that from not only having coherent orchestration, powerful cloud management, but the ability to deliver that on any cloud and any target. And finally, the cloud broker allows you to make it all look good, aggregate the number of services that you're providing, and build that environment in such a way that it makes IT look better, more professional, more complete in the services you're providing, and you can basically aggregate capabilities from a number of different cloud providers to do that. Next slide. Kieran? Thanks, bud. All right, so just for more information, we want to let you know that there's a blog that you can touch into, hpe.com/blog/cloud. That's our Grounded in the Cloud blog from the Hewlett-Packard Enterprise team. But also there's a specific URL there for reaching the Helion Cloud Suite site, hpe.com/software/hybrid-cloud. That's easy to get to. The other thing I want to offer to you is there is a free digital transformation book. If you write down that tinyurl.com, HDOXUN8, if you want to write that down quick or whatever, you can go and register to get Jeannie's new book on embracing digital transformation, where she interviewed 50 IT leaders, and I think you'll find this very valuable. It's a great read. Okay, it's a good book. So go out and grab that, and I think our questions are next.
Yes, they are. If you have a question, please go ahead and post it now. I've got a couple here, and given time, we'll probably just take a couple questions. But one of these questions is, how is the service designed cloud agnostic? Neil, can you go into that a little bit more?
Yeah,
Karen?
I think we've gone into that. So cloud agnostic designs gives you the ability to design once. So basically, you have an application tiers and you have an infrastructure tiers, right? So the ability to separate these designs out so that your application part would stay constant, whereas the underlying infrastructure could change. So designing once and deploying it anywhere is a concept which enables you to provide that cloud agnostic way of designing things.
Okay. I think we have time for probably one more quick question here, just given we're hitting the hour. How does it accommodate the differences in deployment between private and public cloud targets?
So as you can see, you can deploy them in multiple ways. Like as you can see, first, if you have the capability that you define, say for example, if you are requiring a database and you pick and choose the type of runtime engine or the database platform which you would require, you can go and pick and choose the cloud provider that is offering that. That way, irrespective of which the provider is, you would still be able to deploy that.
All right. Well, can we go to the next slide?
We did have one question there, Shannon, just from Sujit. It's asking whether or not he's asking whether or not we have the ability to connect to the Android and iOS SDKs for running mobile apps as part of a workflow. Can we do that, Karen?
No, we cannot.
No. Okay. I didn't think it was built in. So, okay. Just wanted to answer that.
All right. Can we go to? Yeah. Thank you. Can we go to the next slide, Karen? All right. Just to let everybody know, Discover London's coming up here. So I think that's in just a couple of months. The next slide shows if you're going through and trying to understand when it is and the top 10 reasons to attend. Here's some information for you. And if you go to the last slide, I'll conclude. So thank you for attending today's webinar. Please be sure to complete the short survey after the webinar ends and opt in to receive more information from Hewlett-Packard Enterprise. Just a reminder that the webinar recording and slide deck will be posted to the Vivid website. In the next few days, you will receive an email with those links. And so thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Truly appreciate it, and have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Thank you.